You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, a fallen firefighter will be laid to rest this weekend.
Our temperatures right now are going to eclipse our average high. However, in about 36 hours, we're going to be talking about temperatures close to freezing. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, one woman's quest to reunite a photo album with the rightful family spans distance, generations, and time itself. All that and more coming up.
It's Most Watched News starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. Cherokee County Sheriff David Groves announces funeral service details for fallen Baxter Springs firefighter Malachi Brown. Brown died last week from injuries he received in the line of duty. Funeral services will be at 1:30 on Sunday at the Tennessee Prairie Friends Church in Baxter Springs. Afterward, he'll be buried at the Baxter Springs Cemetery. The South Kansas and Oklahoma, or SKOL Railroad, will be closing and repairing one of its railroads. It's located on K7 crossing between US 400 and K103. They're closing it on Wednesday, November 17th. The closure is expected to be day-long, beginning at 8 a.m. and continuing until 5 p.m. Traffic will follow a signed detour on K103, US 69, and US 400, as seen there on your screen. For more information on this closure, you can go to our website and find a link to candrive.org. As we get closer to winter and the snowy season, it may be more difficult to get around on some area highways. Both the Missouri and Kansas Departments of Transportation are facing staffing shortages for snowplow operators. In Kansas, officials with KDOT say they're short about 30% of their workforce. That could result in significant delays getting roads cleared.
It's going to make it more difficult for them to get around, and it's going to take longer to get things cleared off for us. It's going to make it harder for them to get from point A to point B. They're going to have to allot for time so they can get there safely.
If you're interested in working for KDOT, you can check out the link to their job site in the story at KOAMnewsnow.com. MoDOT is experiencing a similar shortage. Officials there say 20% of its workforce has been on the job for less than a year. MoDOT Director Patricia McKinnon says they've had an average of 70 employees leave every month for the past 6 months, leading to a record high turnover rate. McKinnon adds MoDOT is hundreds of employees short of being fully staffed. She says if a winter storm were to last more than a single 12-hour shift, there would not be enough employees to cover a second 12-hour shift, leading to delays in getting roads cleared. On Monday, the Joplin City Council established a citizens committee to help with a bond issue deciding the future of Memorial Hall. Voters will decide the bond issue in April. If it passes, it would fund reconstruction, renovation, and improvements to Memorial Hall. The Citizens Committee will help spread information about how the bond would be used.
People nowadays have a lot of opportunity to choose different communities, and I think providing quality amenities, great spaces where we can all come together and enjoy a great community, that's important if we are to continue to grow or even stay together. So it's important that the city have great facilities, and Memorial Hall certainly can be one of those for us.
The council also voted to end the city's pandemic response and recovery plan, which was established early in the pandemic. Council members say they feel comfortable dealing with whatever comes next. Fried chicken, burgers, pizza, and a day to celebrate it all. Today is National Fast Food Day, and this is one special day you don't want to sleep on because your favorite joint may be giving away free food to celebrate. Listen up. Of course it is. Wendy's is offering free fries with a purchase any size you want. Why would you go with the small? And there are more than 300,000 restaurants in the U.S. serving up all things burgers, nuggets, and fries. So if you're hitting the drive-thru this Tuesday, be sure to ask about a possible freebie.
This is where Michael's like painted into this corner, because right now I'm going through my head and I'm like, oh my God, I don't need to like take any of our sponsors to this fine show and say anything about National Fast Food Day. So this is what it looks like, folks, when Michael's painted into a corner and I get little T-Rex arms. And I'm like, no. Number one, why are there so many national days in November? That's my first question.
They just,
Number 2, isn't Health Watch our next block?
yeah.
But the fine sponsors of this show, I want you to go out and support everybody.
Good
Said
job.
Michael with his little T-Rex arms. Hello, Glow Cloud. That's how I get off of that. I'm just like, Daily Almanac for our November 16th. Look at this low, this record low, dating back to 1959. 14 degrees. My goodness. Now, here's the interesting thing. We'll be closer to our record high of 82 that was set back in 2016 because we've already hit our average high at Joplin Regional Airport. And here we stand at 5 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour. Temperatures ranging anywhere from about 47 to 57. We've been about here, there, and everywhere. We had a little cold bubble down to the south, but now we're seeing everybody begin to rebound and catch up with everyone. Consistently, Joplin and Carthage have been our warm spots throughout the course of our Tuesday morning. Wind is going to come in from the south, do so anywhere gusting to 30 to 35 miles per hour later this afternoon, gradually increasing. Most of this cloud cover will stay up to the northwest, sunny skies for most of the 4 states. No precipitation hitting the ground. The green that you do see coming out of our radar spots, that's simply reflectivity, so no worries on that. She just gets finicky a little early this time in the morning. Major flooding concerns in the Pacific Northwest, mandatory evacuations for portions of Washington state. And actually, that'll play a role in our weather. We don't have to worry about the flooding, but this right here, this cold front, this thing is going to follow this jet stream and eventually drop down on us here in the next 36 hours. For today, though, around 75 degrees, 15, 16 degrees above what we normally see this time of year with a whole lot of sunshine. But then as we work into Wednesday, the rain will begin late tomorrow morning and into the afternoon. It'll come in from the northwest. We're not looking at anything severe. We won't even get thunder or lightning, but look at the difference in temperatures down to the bottom of your screen and the right of your screen compared to what we see on the top and to the left. And so we just continually drop down to the point where we will be talking about temperatures close to, if not below the freezing mark, not only for Wednesday night into Thursday morning, but also Thursday night into Friday morning. Now do your health watch, Steve.
There you go. Up next, incentives to vaccinate have turned into a tougher approach as COVID cases in Europe begin to rise once again. And later, veterans find help and healing in a homegrown project in Kansas City. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Thank you.
After using the carrot approach to convince people to get vaccinated, some countries in Europe are now pulling out the stick. As Ian Lee reports, there are COVID rules for anyone who refuses to get the vaccine.
Hundreds put up a fight over the weekend saying no to a new lockdown in the Netherlands. As COVID cases rise, the country became the first in Europe to tighten restrictions this winter. Infections are going up worldwide, so governments are twisting arms to get more shots into them. In Singapore, if you didn't get vaccinated by choice and get sick with COVID, you're on your own to pay your medical bill.
We have to send this important signal to urge everyone to get vaccinated if you are eligible.
Austria took it a step further, banning the unvaccinated from leaving home unless for work, groceries, or medical reasons. Anyone caught outside faces a $1,600 fine.
Enough is enough!
In Australia, the loudest voices are in the minority. More than 80% of eligible people in the country have been vaccinated. But in some regions, those holding out could now lose their jobs.
It's tyranny. That's what it is. Absolute tyranny.
And in New Zealand, protesters are angry at what's being called a no jab, no job policy. The government is requiring many workers to get vaccinated or get fired. Ian Lee, CBS News.
Centers for Disease Controls and Prevention says unvaccinated people are 5 times more likely to get infected and 10 times more likely to die from COVID. We now have that report on our nation's COVID outlook heading into the holiday season. Bradley Blackburn has the story.
Some good news for millions of Americans looking forward to the holidays.
If you get vaccinated and your family's vaccinated, you can feel good about enjoying a typical Thanksgiving, Christmas, with your family and close friends.
The nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says the U.S. is still seeing about 70,000 new COVID-19 cases a day. While that's down significantly from mid-September, some areas are now seeing an uptick.
We still have about 60 million people in the country who are eligible to be vaccinated who have not yet gotten vaccinated.
Some hotspots in the country, like Colorado, are taking additional steps to get a handle on infections. Starting Friday, the state health department will require proof of vaccination at most indoor events with more than 500 people. Officials in Colorado have also made booster shots available to all adults, not just those in high-risk groups.
Everybody should get the booster after 6 months. The data is incredibly clear that it increases your personal protection level.
Dr. Fauci said if most people who are eligible for a booster go get one, 2022 can start looking a lot more normal. But there are many miles to go before we turn the page on 2021. Dozens of Democratic lawmakers sent President Biden a letter asking him to require proof of full vaccination or a negative test for airline passengers on domestic flights, hoping to reduce the chances of another winter surge. Republicans in Florida are taking a different approach.
We believe that people should have options.
State lawmakers are considering legislation to block federal vaccine rules and limit mask mandates. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
A new study out of the Ohio State University found about half of Americans will ask their holiday guests to wear masks and disclose their vaccination status, while nearly 3/4 say they plan to only celebrate with members of their household. Well, they brought out the black and white for her birthday, but don't call this Dalmatian-loving great-grandmother Cruella. The 101 Dalmatians themed parade in Wisconsin made perfect sense for Ruth Marsh. It was for her 101st birthday. She also loves the dogs and has a history of hosting a 4th of July parade herself. Actually, it looks like it probably wouldn't bother her too much if you did slip and compare her to Cruella de Vil. Marsh appears to have embraced the character by dressing up as her for the parade. It's pretty far from her real personality, though. Marsh is loved by her 16 grandchildren and more than 20 great-grandchildren.
Okay, that is awesome. Like, that is so awesome. And you want to talk about, to a T, the fact that she's got the cigarette filter with her costume, too.
I love the black paper plates on the side of the car.
Yeah, and I love it, like, even the adults are along with the kids, everybody dressed up. That's tremendous. How cool of an idea is that? That's really nice. All right, Tanya, let's take a live look over 7th and Range Line. Now we see the sunrise beginning to illuminate our storefronts right across from the mall. 57 degrees is where we sit. It's been a very, very warm morning. Our daily almanac would put our daily high at 58 degrees, and that's exactly where we all are pretty much right now. 49 in Fort Scott. Let's go 50 in Welch, 52 in Miami, and a pair of 55s ranging in Monette and Cassville. Waiting on Chanute. Catch up a little bit, sitting right now at 47, but eventually everybody's going to end up in the 70s. It's going to be a phenomenal mid-November Tuesday. Remember, our wind is going to increase. For those of you, Highway 400 and 126 is that east-west route that I always worry about when we get winds like this if you drive a high-profile vehicle. We don't have any wind advisories, no watches, warnings, even advisories. But still, that being said, I need you to know that it's going to come in from the south at 30 miles per hour. Yeah, for those of you driving trucks and whatnot, I know you do your best to be careful. Just a friendly reminder. We've got double-digit temperature increases from where we were at this point in time yesterday. Just a tremendous amount of warmth for the middle of November with a clear Skywatch storm tracker. Heavy cloud cover hanging up to our northwest. And here's why. We've got a low-pressure system that's hanging about right here. And they're going to have massive rainfall up in the Pacific Northwest to the point where they've even got mandatory evacuations for portions of Washington State as this grabs the moisture off the Pacific and feeds them. Our issue is not going to be the amount of rain that we're going to get. It's going to be the colder temperatures that are going to drop with that low pressure system and pretty much come right through us. Now this afternoon, 75 degrees, but here, just wait until Thursday night and Friday night, because what will have happen, rain will begin up to the north as it drops through. Huge gap in temperatures with that cold front. And once it settles in our daily highs are not going to be too bad. I do want to point out that Wednesday night into Thursday, and then Thursday night into Friday, we're right at, if not below, the freezing point. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. This next story is really interesting, and perhaps all of us can help piece together this mystery. Specifically, if you know a family by the name of Sharer, S-H-A-R-E-R. Specifically, if you know anybody by the name of David or Sarah Sharer. There's a woman in Topeka with a connection to Parsons, Kansas. She's trying to reunite a family with a long-lost photo album. The pictures tell a story about what Kansas was like more than a century ago. But finding the rightful owner to this photo album, it has proved a challenge. Here's Isaac French with the details.
1508 Southwest High Avenue holds a lot of memories for Jennifer Davis.
I have family photos on the porch. I have photos of me and my stepdad in a pool on the side of the house. We used to play wiffle ball on the side of the house.
In 2013, after her grandpa passed, she and her mom were cleaning out his house when they discovered someone else's memories.
We went through the house and this book was found in the attic of the garage. And my mom tried to find the owner for it when she posted it online a few years ago, but never got a response.
The book contains family photos, baby pictures, and two names, David and Sarah Sharer. After the failed attempt to find the family in 2013, Jennifer Davis's mom has kept the book with her in Parsons, Kansas. And on Sunday, when Davis went to visit her mom, she gave her the book to bring back to Topeka to give it another try.
My plan to go back and look and see who used to own this house. I know you can do history on that. I think that the Kansas Historical Society might be able to help too, but I haven't reached out to anybody. Like I said, I just got home today, so I'll start looking into that.
Davis hopes that this time, with the help of social media and some research, she'll be able to help the album find its way home.
It's sentimental. I mean, these are pretty interesting photographs of somebody's history, family history, and if it were mine, I'd want it back.
Now, beyond social media outreach, Jennifer says she's going to check property records and with local historians. And once again, maybe you're familiar with this last name and can help out. Feel free to contact us. Feel free to contact WIBW in Topeka. That last name, once again, S-H-A-R-E-R. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
It's time to honor today's four-state hero. Vernon Elder, Carthage, Missouri native, was a sergeant in the U.S. Army. He served in 1972, a veteran of the Vietnam War. To Vernon Elder, we thank you, our four-state hero. A revolution in veteran care that started in Kansas City is now spreading across the country, and it all started with a tiny idea. Greg Payne talks with veterans who found help and healing in a homegrown project.
On 89th and True sits a small community that back in 2016 was literally being built.
We started this to help those veterans that we had to say no to, and because we didn't want anyone falling through the cracks.
5 years later, and the Veterans Community Project's tiny homes is a lifesaver for many veterans looking for a second chance.
I do it once in the morning time and once in the evening time. Look out for this car here.
Like clockwork, you'll find Navy veteran Terrence Kennard voluntarily patrolling the streets.
This area right here and across the street right there, I kind of watch out for it.
Two places that are close to his heart, the tiny homes.
Look at my house right here. We have two more of the houses on the other side of me.
And the complex across the street where he used to live.
And all this right up here was on fire. The whole area.
A fire that destroyed everything, leaving him homeless.
After everything that happened, I had to sit down in there though and just, what's the word I use for it? Just think about my whole future right there.
Little did he know the folks across the street were thinking about the same exact thing. And in no time, Veterans Community Project had him a new home, a tiny home.
Number 3 Charlie's right in the front, and that's when it started my life.
A fresh start, one that Army veteran Kyle Prellberg says he and his dog Phoenix desperately needed after leaving the military. An unfortunate miscarriage, divorce, job loss, financial issues, and PTSD began a spiraling downfall for Kyle, resulting in him being homeless.
I was just couch surfing left and right and, wearing out my welcome here, wearing out my welcome there.
It wasn't until an accidental run-in with a local military advocate at the movie theater that things began looking up. That advocate helped Kyle get his Purple Heart that the military forgot to give him, along with connecting him with the Veterans Community Project, a place he called home for more than a year and a half.
They don't ask of anything of you, absolutely nothing of you. The only thing they ask of you is that you better yourself.
And that's exactly what Kyle did, and is part of the reason he now visits the community as a guest and not a resident.
I come back here, I don't know, not as often as I'd like, but I somewhat regularly.
He and Phoenix now live in a home, but they got a chance to see the old place for the first time since they've left.
I'm hoping it's not near as dirty. Oh, dang. Okay, oh my. It looks brand new. Phoenix, come on. I didn't put any art up. I hung my old unit flag up in the back. That was about all the artwork that I put up in here. Other than that, it's pretty well like I kept it. Home ownership is its own piece of hell, but at the same time, there's no better freedom.
And that's what it's all about for the Veterans Community Project, helping veterans who are struggling get back up on their feet and ready to conquer the rest of what their life has to offer. A mission and tiny home concept that Brian Meyer, the CEO and co-founder of Veterans Community Project, says they are currently working on expanding to St. Louis, Denver, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and other cities.
It's not just something I'm proud of, it's something that everybody in Kansas City should be proud of, that thousands of volunteers should be proud of, that not only are we impacting this community, but it's having a ripple effect across so many others.
Well, another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Can you believe the first Harry Potter movie came out 20 years ago? We've got more details about the anniversary. And the cast of Star Trek Discovery sits down to talk about the upcoming 4th season. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
4 States' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:31. Let's take a look at today's top stories. The Oklahoma National Guard's new adjunct general has relaxed guard policy on COVID-19 vaccinations one day after taking command. Memo to Guard members says he'd take no action against those refusing the vaccine. Governor Stitt removed the previous adjunct general who supported the mandate, though Stitt says the change was not related to vaccination policy. Federal Appeals Court rejected the appeal of 4 Oklahoma death row inmates scheduled for execution during the next 3 months. The 10th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals denied the appeal by Julius Jones, Wade Lay, Donald Grant, and Gilbert Postel. Jones's case has drawn widespread attention. His execution is scheduled for Thursday, but Governor Stitt is considering a recommendation that the sentence be commuted to life in prison. South Kansas and Oklahoma, or SKOL Railroad, will be closing and repairing one of its railroads. It's located on the K7 crossing between US 400 and K103. They're closing it on Wednesday, November 17th. The closure is expected to be day-long, beginning at 8 a.m. and continuing until 5 p.m. Traffic will follow a signed detour on K103, US 69, and US 400. As seen there on our screen. For more information on this closure, you can find a link on our website to candrive.org. Missouri Health Department is giving nursing homes a legal pathway to temporarily shut down if they face staffing shortages because of a new federal COVID vaccine mandate for healthcare workers. An emergency rule from the State Department of Health and Senior Services would allow skilled nursing and intermediate care facilities to close for up to 2 years if they are short-staffed because of the vaccine requirement. They could then reopen without having to start the licensure process from scratch. Missouri's nursing homes have some of the lowest COVID-19 vaccination rates in the nation. Well, MoDOT is experiencing a similar shortage. Officials there say 20% of its workforce has been on the job for less than a year. MoDOT Director Patricia McKinnon says they've had an average of 70 employees leave every month for the past 6 months, leading to a record high turnover rate. McKinnon adds MoDOT is hundreds of employees short of being fully staffed. She says if a winter storm were to last more than a single 12-hour shift, There would not be enough employees to cover a second 12-hour shift, leading to delays in getting roads cleared. A shortage of snowplow drivers means getting around in snowy weather this winter may be a bit difficult. KOAM's Chris Warner spoke with an official at KDOT about the situation and has more.
KDOT officials say its workforce is down 30% from where it should be. That could cause a problem when it comes to clearing roads this winter.
Well, it makes it more difficult. You know, we have these trucks, there's about 600 trucks statewide, and we staff them with one person per 12-hour shift. And when you don't have enough to staff both shifts, therefore you're not going to be able to clear the roads like you wish you can.
If KDOT doesn't have enough crews to keep the roads clear, that means commuters could be in for a headache when it snows.
It's going to make it more difficult for them to get around, and it's going to take longer to get things cleared off for us. It's going to make it harder for them to get from point A to point B. They're going to have to allot for time so they can get there safely.
Crane says they're trying a number of techniques to recruit new workers, from social media to using the electronic message boards that are typically used to sign detours or road closures.
Also, we are trying to hire people, temporary help, that have CDLs, and they'll come in and they'll just plow snow, basically just temporary through seasonal help.
Which brings Crane to another point. The shortage isn't just impacting the state's ability to clear roads of snow, it's impacting the state's ability to maintain those roads.
What we have to do now, since we're shorthanded, we might have to put 2 crews together to get enough people to do one job. So we are having to work together to get more done.
Crane says between an increasing number of retirees and a lack of applicants, it's beginning to have a significant impact across the state on services KDOT provides. I'm Chris Warner for KOAM News.
Well, if you're interested in joining KDOT, we've got links to their job site in the story at KOAMnewsnow.com. Newborn lion triplets at an animal park in Western Germany were unveiled to the public on Monday. The cubs at Gelsenkirchen Zoo. I don't even know if that was close. Probably not. They're all female, and their names are Jamila, Kumani, and Malika.
Triplets. I'll be darned.
They were born on October 8th, and these are the first lion cubs that the zoo has had in over 30 years. The zoo was very excited to reveal them. Aww.
You know I'm a nature lover. You know that lions, like some animals, actually live longer in captivity at zoos than they do in the wild? That's something else. I always found that interesting. All right, Tanya, we're going to hear a lot about the old atmospheric river that's causing massive flooding on the Pacific coast. Luckily, for everybody, especially in Washington State where they've got some mandatory evacuations, we're now seeing, and this is the atmospheric river, you've probably heard the term before, but we can actually illustrate it on the infrared satellite. Everything coming off the Pacific is starting to graduate on the other side of the Rocky Mountains, so that is good news for them. For us, our Tuesday is going to be absolutely great. 57 degrees is where we already stand over 7th and Range Line, with temperatures ranging anywhere from really about 45 to 55 already. It is going to be a little bit of a windy one. And remember, tomorrow, that's when the changes are a-coming. We'll pick up just some light rain, anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 an inch. And no thunderstorm activity, but after the rain begins tomorrow late morning into the afternoon and evening, cold front sweeps in. Look at those overnight lows from Wednesday into Thursday and Thursday into Friday. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. On the KOAM News Now Facebook page that I'm about to call up and our morning Insta poll, it simply comes down to which animal do you love the most? We did a story earlier about a dog named Sparkles in Boston right there. Just puts a smile on everybody's face. But we gave you an array of options right here. 63% of you right now say you're dog lovers. 23% of you go with the feline, and 10% of you say doesn't matter. Any which way, as long as they love me, and you love them back. Remember, you can connect each and every morning, Facebook or KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Two Much Loved Moves mark big anniversaries this year. Movies, a modern classic and an iconic Christmas film. We gave Rick Damigella the day off because David Daniel says he wanted to take a look at today's Hollywood Minute.
You're a
wizard, Harry?
I'm a what?
It's been 20 years since Harry Potter first hit the big screen, but it doesn't seem that long to Chris Columbus, who directed the first 2 Harry Potter movies.
It really feels like we were just making the film a couple of weeks ago, and I have such vivid memories of working on those sets. I mean, you can imagine when, as a director, you're given sets like that. You build those sets. You want to rush to work every day. You can't wait to get to my so-called office and start shooting these films. It was a dream come true.
Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
It's been 75 years since Carolyn Grimes delivered that classic line in It's a Wonderful Life.
I'm honored, and I'm so blessed that Frank Capra picked me to be Zuzu, because I feel like it's been an avenue for me to work with people, touch their lives, tell them stories, and listen to their stories. And I just can't tell you how wonderful that has made my life.
You really had a wonderful life.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Remember, Frank Capra won Best Director for It's a Wonderful Life. We'll be right back after this.
Vegan restaurants are growing in popularity. Forget the bland tofu and limp vegetables of the past. Wendy Gillette explores the new trend.
Zila Caldillo is cooking asiento tacos, usually made with pork fat. But she's an executive chef at a vegan restaurant. Her tacos and all the other dishes on the menu at Ateria in New York City have no meat or cheese. The bold Mexican flavors come from substitutions and substantial seasoning.
Lots of salt, lots of oil. If I'm being honest, lots of salt and lots of oil. But I feel like fruits and vegetables are already really good. It's just about finding the right balance.
What do you want to do for Dias de los Muertos?
Ravi DeRossi owns Ateria. He has helped pioneer new, more experimental vegan restaurants.
I think nowadays chefs look at vegan food almost like artists look at a canvas.
DeRossi owns a total of 10 restaurants, all of them in New York City, and all of them vegan.
I think there are 3 reasons why vegan food is so popular right now. Health reasons, climate change issues, and animal rights issues.
Some of the world's highest rated restaurants are leading the trend. This year, Michelin Guide judges awarded stars to 57 vegetarian restaurants and 24 vegan restaurants. They include New York's 11 Madison Park, which kept 3 stars when it relaunched this past summer as a vegan restaurant. Atelier Crane in San Francisco was also awarded 3 stars after going meatless in 2019. In DeRossi's vegan empire, Chef Shanari Freeman creates dishes like southern fried lasagna for the soul food restaurant Cadence. At the Italian restaurant Soda Club, Chef Amira Garib ditches eggs and cheese for her gnocchi with pesto sauce.
You can do anything vegan.
Which means an expanding palette for the millions of Americans who have embraced the diet. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, New York.
I'm just curious how those things are supposed to fill you up. 2020 study estimates more than 9.5 million Americans are vegan, around 3% of the population. That, as you can guess, doesn't include me. Well, Canadian Pacific Railway is one step closer to acquiring Kansas City Southern Railway. The 2 companies filed an application with the Surface Transportation Board seeking authorization for the merger. The board will prepare an environmental impact statement before making a final decision. Today is the deadline to register for the child tax credit if you are not already receiving one. So far, more than $15 billion has been distributed to families with children up to 17 years old. The distributions were based on 2020 tax returns. Families who did not file can use the IRS's non-filer tool to register. Payments as much as $300 per child are set to end in December. Adult beverages are making a return to United Airlines. The carrier says it will expand its in-flight beverage service to include hard liquor on select flights. The company says it made the decision following customer feedback. Burger King's parent company has gone shopping. Restaurant Brands, the owner of Burger King, Popeyes, and Tim Hortons, will be snapping up quick service chain Firehouse Subs for $1 billion. The acquisition comes at a time Restaurant Brands' popular chains are struggling due to increased competition from rivals. Firehouse was founded in Jacksonville, Florida in 1994 by brothers and former firefighters Chris and Robin Sorensen. It has roughly 1,200 locations. We'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
Track Discovery continues its mission of going where no one has gone before. Now, the reason we didn't have Rick Damigella earlier is because him and Chris Warner, well, yeah, they were locked into Star Trek Discovery. We beamed them both down to take a look at the streaming series' new season.
5 light years across. That's the size of the gravitational anomaly.
Where's it headed next?
It could go anywhere.
The crew and their allies face an existential threat to the galaxy in the 4th season of Star Trek Discovery.
The future remains uncertain, but the captain in me knows anything is possible.
The new season finds Sonequa Martin Green in the captain's chair.
Be at the helm of this franchise is huge to me. And then to be the first Black woman to be at the helm of it, and then to be the first Black woman sitting in that chair. I feel solidified, I feel cemented, I feel emboldened, just to be counted, in that sort of group, that heralded group of captains in this franchise.
Ready when you are, Captain.
Let's fly.
The stories of the ensemble cast will also be progressing.
I think she's getting closer and closer to the thing she envisioned for herself. And I think that's going to actually pull up a lot of questions about like who she is and what she wants.
This is the closest version of book you see being integrated with Starfleet. And what's lovely is how at peace he is with embracing the thought of being part of a bigger family.
If you're in a certain kind of show, a certain kind of procedural show, maybe that doesn't happen as much. But we are blessed that we get to do this adventure story that also has so much character growth. So it's just a gift.
We're totally going to ignore that warning, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I've lived a good life.
Jump.
Warping out in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Back on terra firma for a delightful Tuesday morning with a whole bunch of sunshine and temperatures already 57 degrees over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin. We're ranging anywhere from really 47 to 57 right now, so we've got kind of a wide gap of temperatures, but we'll all be in the 70s and fighting the southerly winds, gusting from 30 to 35 miles per hour this afternoon. But what a bump up that we've seen just from this point in time since Monday. How about a 20-degree increase in Grove and almost 20 degrees in Anderson? You can't beat this for the middle of November. Clean Skywatch Storm Tracker, a little cloud cover beginning to build to the northwest. But we'll be on the dry side for today. Now, up here, number 1, that's our cold front. Number 2, also, that's the historic flooding that they had as a result of the atmospheric river that came off the Pacific and pummeled parts of the Pacific Northwest. Luckily for them, this is now graduating over the western side of the Rockies. A little bit of it's trying to make its way over the mountains, but a whole lot of that evaporating up there. A whole bunch of snow obviously being dropped on top of the mountains, but not a whole lot of it being able to reformulate once it comes back. Highs today for us, mid-70s. Can't beat it. Now, big changes are coming, and that will be in the form of some rain on Wednesday, late morning, early afternoon. Not thunderstorms, just rain, 1/4 to 1/2 an inch. Don't worry about accumulation. Prepare yourself for the cold temperatures behind it. We're going to drop down to the freezing mark for Wednesday into Thursday, and again for Thursday into Friday. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. President Biden held a virtual summit last night with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. This was the first lengthy discussion between the leaders since President Biden took office. The president opened the meeting by saying the two countries' competition with each other should not veer into conflict and that common sense guardrails should be established to better work together. The president also celebrated the signing of the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill. The funds will improve roads, public transit, ports, and expand broadband access. President Biden is now moving on to the nearly $2 trillion Build Back Better Act, which House Democrats want to vote on this week. Jurors will begin deliberating the fate of 18-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse, who shot and killed 2 men and injured another during demonstrations in Kenosha, Wisconsin last year. The judge dismissed 1 charge, leaving 5, including first-degree intentional homicide. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
Have you heard about this mega spider?
No, I'm excited.
It's got fangs capable of piercing human fingernails. It's in Australia, no worries. Highs today around 70 degrees. Remember, we get a day and a half left before the cold front sweeps in and drops us to the freezing point for Wednesday night and Thursday night.
Well, a California nonprofit has broken the Guinness World Record for the longest line of socks.
That's where they were.
Yeah. Well, 7-mile-long line, to be exact. Volunteers and staff of the Fresno Mission started a sock drive months ago to get donations. No, these are not your missing socks, Michael. They said it took more than 6 months to collect what they needed. On Saturday, they finally had enough, and that's when they set out the line in record time. And now the best part is those 80,000 socks will go to a good cause.
Can't believe I blame the gnomes all this time. That's completely my fault, gnome family. Thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. More news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.